How's it going, everybody? I'd like to thank everybody that has been a subscriber, continues to subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. If you're a viewer of the channel but you don't subscribe, I still appreciate your time. So for those of you that do know me, um, most of you know that I am a Cisco and VMware guy. Whether it comes to, technology is pretty much irrelevant. It's the vendor. I'm just kidding. It's all about the technology. So one of the things that I decided to do, and this was after kind of, and I'll take a minute and explain my thought process on this. One of the things that I did not do very deep when I was studying for my CCIE was IPv6, which is, as you can see on the screen, I have a bunch of IPv6 stuff pulled up. And what I decided to do, and this was only after going through and getting ready for doing CCNP service provider, I ran into I won't say a roadblock, but I ran into some speed bumps, and I would say I'm knowledgeable to a degree on IPv6. I'm not an expert in it. There's a lot of things that I don't know about it, and so I didn't spend a ton of time on IPv6 stuff when I was studying for my lab, simply for the fact that I was told that it was a waste of time. And after hearing that, I was like, okay, so I didn't put as much effort into it as I should have. And when I got to the lab, I realized that they were right. There is IPv6, don't get me wrong, but it's not a big portion of the exam. So it's mostly an IPv4 exam. So I was like, all right, I need to, rethink this. So when you get into service provider, and the company I work for, we are looking at deploying IPv6 in some capacity in the future because of the fact of, we have sites in Europe that, only can use IPv6. So one of the things I've decided to do was I'm putting everything that I'm doing on hold. That's VMware, CCIE, all that type of stuff. I'm putting all of that on hold. I was doing some NSX stuff, as you can see right here. The student guy pulled up. Mastering VMware, so I can go through and, I'm taking notes as I'm labbing things just so that any courses that I deliver to you are, polished. They're correct, they're accurate. And I'm clicking around and it's not like, how do I find this? And I have to click through 3 different things. Oh yeah, here it is. I want to be a little bit more, I don't want to look like a polished turd. I don't want to be like, well, I know what I'm talking about, but I can't really, I don't know the click-by-click stuff. It's the same thing kind of like with on the command line where you're like, you're trying to feel it out as you go. That was early on in my training career, and I've since moved away from that. And to me, I like to be more like matter of fact. Okay, this is what you can expect to see. And if something doesn't go quite the way that I'm expecting to see it, I look at it. Okay, did I goof something up? Did I overlook something? Stuff like that. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a deep dive on IPv6. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here that needs to be covered, and I'm not going to cover every bullet item in here. Like for instance, ADSL, asynchronous DSL, for instance. I'm not really going to go into that too much, but I will cover it, but it won't be like every nerd knob option. But where I will be starting off as I go through is a quick refresher on IPv6 addressing and basic connectivity. And the reason for that is because things like your router discovery, your router advertisement, your RA, your ND, your NA, NS, all that type of stuff that is out there that you need to know about IPv6, basic IPv6, is just a refresher course. For me, a lot of the stuff I know, like for instance, I know how to deal with EIGRP, I know RIP, I know OSPF, I know portions of it for BGP, and I know portions of it for our MPLS. Beyond that, and static routes. I have some traffic filtering experience, but tunneling, never touched it. When it comes to network management, DHCP, Telnet, IPsec, ISIS. Well, ISIS is kind of the oddball out, but a lot of these things I've never really played with before. So my goal is to take what I have played with and put some content together for it and make sure that I understand it so that I can implement it. My goal is to go through this entire book that you see here, all 600 pages of it, or 700 or whatever it comes down to. There's some things that I'm not going to go into as much detail on, like IPv6 RFC. I'll reference that as I go through in case I need to. Now this is specifically for iOS, specifically iOS XE and 15.5 code. So that's what I'm using to reference this all off of. One of the things that I'm doing in addition to that is I've gone through the major areas of iOS XR, and as I progress through here on iOS, I'll be doing the exact same thing for iOS XR so that it's familiar to me. So I've deployed it, I've played with it, that type of stuff. And the reason for that is I want to know it. And I've realized that there's some training that I was going to deliver that was heavy IPv6, and I'm like, I'm not qualified to teach that because I don't know it well enough to teach it. So I decided to, all right, let's put the brakes on our courses and go ahead and do a deep dive. And what I'm planning on doing here in the near future is I'm planning on, and for those of you that know that I'm on the Router Gods Slack, I've just joined that recently in the past couple of months. I've been, and I'm in a bunch of different channels, and CCNA, CCNP, CCIE of varying degrees and different tracks. There is a demand for IPv6 training. So one of the things that I'm looking at doing is putting together a, after I've gone through all this material and I feel confident teaching it, one of the things I plan on doing is saying, okay, well, now that I'm confident teaching it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a podcast series. What that means is these are going to be lengthy videos, probably hour plus long, where we're going to break them down into individual segments. So I'm going to say, for instance, I'm going to get into IP addressing and connectivity. So I'm going to start here, and then that'll be the first video. And then it'll go into detail on how this stuff works. How do you break it down? And I'll work my way through. And these will be just me and you talking. Now, that'll be the first iteration of it. Now, I haven't brought this up to INE, but this is more or less me just trying to put the information out there. If INE has any interest in this type of stuff, I will take and I'll put together an IPv6 series for both iOS and iOS XR, and I might actually even though that it's kind of out of scope, I might even throw a little bit in there for Nexus, because I know Nexus is available with IPv6, but that is yet to be determined. So I don't want to get too far outside the scope. I'm mostly doing this for service provider stuff, but this is kind of where I'm at with that. But my goal here is to go through and really dig into the material and learn it, because at the end of the day, that's my goal. Is I don't care what vendor's gear I'm on. I want to know, okay, IPv6 works like this, and it should be working like this because this, and this. So there's quite a few things that really need to go through, and my goal is to take the what you see here for the chapter breakdowns and put it into more of a logical flow, meaning you're at the very top. We would start off and say, all right, well, we're going to do, let's see here. We're going to start with addressing and the core concepts for that, and then we're going to get into static routes, and then we're going to say, how Ceph works for IPv6, and then we're going to work our way down into a little further into all the routing content. And then we're going to get into multicast, and then BGP, and then MPLS, DMBPN, and then from there we'll get into some of the more obscure topics like IPsec, security, filtering. Then we'll get into like QoS, and then NAT, and stuff like that. It'll be an end-to-end course by the time it's all said and done, but it's me delivering the content in more of a free-form type fashion. No whiteboard. Or I'm sorry, no PowerPoints, no slides. It'll just be me. I'll have like, what do you call it? I'll flip back and forth. I'm going to actually be putting a lot of this into Notepad as I'm going along to build it out. And then as I finish individual sections, I will, I'm actually thinking about taking and doing it like this. because of the way I'm going to be delivering the course, is have a notepad doc that I build all the stuff inside of, and then I will take that information and then map it over into Microsoft Word, and then I will have like forget the term that I'm looking for, bookmark it to where you can click on a like link them together so that it's a hyperlink inside the document. So if you want to talk about DHCP for IPv6, you click on that and then that takes you to that particular section. So think about doing something like that. But that's what I've got going on. Same thing for both iOS and iOS XR. Those are my main two points of contact. That's where I want to spend my time. So it'll take some time to go through this, but most of the stuff I'm already familiar with. But it's going through the documentation and lapping it up. Because really there's nothing out there on this that I can see, and I'm sure people will take this, it'll be a good launching point. We'll see exactly how this plays out. So again, thank you guys for all of your support. You guys have been awesome. Like I said, if you're not a subscriber and you're kind of on the fringe, go ahead and just hit the subscribe button. If not, that's cool. That's up to you. But at the end of the day, at least if there's new content put out, you'll be able to, you'll see it when it comes out because you'll get an alert when new videos pop out. So until that, you guys have been awesome. Thank you again for all your support. Until next time.